I need a pick-me-up. Like, I'm tired. So, how about some music? Alright. It's a little bit better. I've got an energy drink that I have no business trying to drink at 9 p.m. On a school night. I don't go to school. You know what I mean. But anyway, there's stuff going on. I'm recovering from my post-expo, come down. You have to come down from that high that is something like Pinball Expo. There's stuff happening. There's things to talk about. There's a game just begging to join the D-list. And it's episode 119 of Coast to Coast Pinball. Let's go. Welcome to Coast to Coast Pinball. My name is Nate Shivers. This is a podcast. It's my commentary, and I'm a man out of quarters. What's going on? So, yeah. Oh my gosh, I have to stop this. I'm mixing this episode down, and I just heard myself say, so yeah. And it was so cheesy, I literally almost fell out of my chair. I want to punch myself in the face right now. Wow, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. And to punish myself, I want to play it again as we go back into the show. Jeez. Yikes. So, yeah, I took a little week break. I hit you guys pretty hard. I think 5 shows over the course of the Expo week. That was a lot. My pinball exploits did not stop that week. I actually went back out to New York. I think we last spoke when I had just played in the Walking Dead launch party tournament in Brooklyn. That was a lot of fun. I actually went back into New York when my friend Zach, who co-hosted an episode of Coast to Coast Pinball a few months ago, joined me in New York City. Because he's a great pinball player and big fan. And we spent an entire late afternoon, evening on a Sunday at Modern Pinball New York City. It was great times.
Trip reports.
So Zach and I usually go to arcades together when we can, whether we're traveling, because his work territory, he has the same exact job as I do. He is a sales manager for Taylor Guitars like I am, and his territory includes Pennsylvania and the southern part of New Jersey, where my territory includes the northern part of New Jersey and New York, so we kind of butt right up next to each other. And Zach came on into Manhattan, met me at Modern Pinball, and we just played for hours. And he had not seen Mustang yet. He had not seen The Walking Dead, obviously. He'd played Star Trek. He'd played Metallica. He'd played Wizard of Oz. So he was pretty caught up to date with the new games that were out there, but there was a few he hadn't played yet. And what we decided to do after a few hours of playing was something that he and I will probably continue to now do for wherever we go, which will be a problem at some of the bigger collections in the world. I can just imagine the Pinball Hall of Fame. But we played every single game in the room, heads up, in like a tournament fashion, like in like a total wins out of, I think they had 35 games up and going. Maybe it was 32 games turned on, something to that effect. And in any case, I predicted Zach would beat me, and he did beat me, but it wasn't the blowout that I thought it would be. It was, I think he beat me by 2 games, but he did clinch it, and I just kind of won some towards the end. But it was a lot of fun. Some of the games I thought I would get murdered on, like Kiss, and they have an old Wedgehead single player that I can't recall what it is right now, but they have an old EM in there right now that I was sure Zach would beat me on those, because he always says that's like more his speed, and I beat him on both of those, so I don't know what was up with that. But then something like Mustang, which is like the fastest game in the room, he killed me on, so I don't know. It was a fun day. I actually I got there quite a bit earlier in the day because I had no work to do on that Sunday, and when I got there, top 20 ranked IFPA pinballer Roy Wills was actually hanging out there as well. So Steve Epstein met me at the door. He actually remembered who I am, which is sort of flattering. That was nice. Roy was there just hanging out before his flight back to Europe after being out at Expo. So I got to play some of The Walking Dead with Roy and watch how good he is. And it's always fun to play with the top-ranked players in the world and get to just kind of watch how they go about moving the ball around the table and whatnot. It was pretty interesting. So we played some Whitewater together, played some The Walking Dead. I played a lot of The Walking Dead. I feel like I know that game very, very well now. It is, I know it's early code, quote, unquote, but there is some good code in there. There's some scoring to be figured out, some neat things going on with the in-lane multipliers. Had a lot of fun on that. I like the game. It's a hard game. I think The Walking Dead is a difficult game to do very well on. And the more I play it, the more I was sort of trying to solve the puzzles that game sort of puts out for you. And I like it. I do like it. I still have major issues. I think that, and it's been said by more than just me now, and I think some other people who have actually played the game have realized I was simply not just trying to pick and hate on The Walking Dead, but that ball coming out of the pop bumpers, and then it's not the pop bumpers. I guess I made a mistake by calling it coming out of the pop bumpers. That's just I'm trying to point you to the direction where I'm looking on the table. The pop bumpers aren't the issue. It's the issue of coming beneath the pop bumpers and to the little escape area that bounces off the underneath side of the well walker, or as somebody called him, the Welverine, which I thought was very well put. It's clunky, and the ball comes out of there sort of in different ways, which maybe I guess that's good. It's random. You have to be a good pinball player, but there's just something that's not. I don't know. I don't like it when there's something that's so kind of haphazard feeling, I guess. I like the game, though. It's certainly not to say I don't like the game. It's interesting. I think the music and the sounds are good in that game. We know about the call-outs. I won't even go into it right now. But I think they paint a really good story with that game on the playfield and with the sounds and everything. I like it, and I'm sure it will get better as the months go on. It's a game I think I could own. I know Teresa doesn't want it, but I think I could own that game. I was really playing a lot of Star Trek and Metallica because I'm on this itch to buy a Stern game. And not a Stern game as in like a forceful game, but like a game manufactured by the Stern Pinball Company. You know what I'm saying? Catch me? Got it? All right. And I don't know. I was really drawn to The Walking Dead. I do like the ramps. That right ramp shot is difficult. And I like that. That's fun. I like it when you have to really think and work on shots. I think that's cool. So it'll be interesting to see how that game evolves. Had a lot of fun. Roy's just one of the nicest guys I've met so far to date in the world of the players side of the, a lot of the hobbyists are obviously great people. And the players, I think are like the closest thing pinball really has to up and coming celebrities. We have all the designers; they are what they are, and a lot of those guys, the Dennis Nordmans, the Pat Lawlers, the Steve Ritchies, those guys are the celebrity designers. But I think the players in their own rights have the ability to sort of become, personalities, if nothing else. And Roy is by far and away just one of the kind of most calm, nice, easygoing guys I've met on that side of the hobby, and really had a lot of fun hanging out with him before he flew back out, and that was very cool. So, Modern Pinball, NYC, what a fantastic place. Games are in immaculate condition. Al and the crew, the Steve crew there are just doing a fantastic job in the heart of New York City, in the Big Apple there on 3rd Avenue, and I really enjoy playing those games. I'm trying to think of anything else that was different in there. There was, they have a nice Bram Stoker's Dracula back there. There used to be a Monster Bash there. It's no longer there. But, they have all the new games. They have a nice selection of kind of, just DMD era games with a really nice Funhouse. So they have a few other, solid state games, and not really, one EM game. There's a Punchy the Clown there, Alvin G game, which I think Zach and I ended up on, and I believe I beat him badly on Punchy the Clown, so at least I got that going for me. Whitewater. Zach just loves Whitewater. It's like his favorite game. And when we actually played in our little heads-up tournament, I just destroyed him because on ball one, I was like, I think 400 million on ball one. Probably the single best ball in pinball I've ever played in my life was that ball one on Whitewater, 420-something million. And I think my 3-ball total was somewhere around 450 million. So it just tells you how my game goes, as it were. But that was my little jaunt into modern pinball a week ago.
Forum static.
So today was just like an average, ordinary Monday. Nothing big going on in pinball, really. I had a really good story that we're going to get to in just a second. We were going to talk about tonight on the show. And then, all of a sudden, on Pinside, a post pops up. And I actually saw it when it was literally 1 minute old. And it said, uh-oh, Phil leaving DP, meaning Phil leaving Dutch Pinball. And for those of you not following along closely at home, Phil was the American in the kind of group of the Dutch Pinball Company. He was the, quote, marketing wing of the group, I guess you would say. The marketing guy. This is Phil Weinberg. He's based in Switzerland, and he is the one who gave the sort of now infamous Expo talk, where he got up with quite a bit of swagger and pizzazz and talked about the Big Lebowski and didn't hold back on the language, and the F-bombs were flying, and some thought that was controversial. I didn't see it as controversial as much as I just saw it as an interesting choice of venue for some of that, but I kind of, I personally sort of liked it because I think pinball needs a little bit of that kind of moving and shaking, so to speak. So I was totally for it. I guess I'll share this now since it's a little time has passed, and I don't think Phil would mind. But Phil, I think maybe either I described it as arrogant or said that somebody else described it as arrogant, and he said that to me. He goes, some people may have thought I was arrogant, and I said, well, I think you were arrogant. And he kind of looked at me like, huh? I said, well, it was kind of arrogant, but not necessarily in a bad way. It's okay to be arrogant sometimes. So Phil was the guy who got up on stage and just sort of threw his hands up in front of this machine that they're very proud of. The Dutch Pinball kind of dropped a bomb on the pinball world and kind of said, here, come and get it, in to paraphrase his whole presentation. So a lot of people were really, I think, taken by Phil. And I was. I thought he was a really good guy. Really liked him, liked hanging out with him. And for many people at Expo, I think he became the face to some of Dutch pinball. And now he's gone. And nobody really saw this coming. And we don't know the whole story. And we will know more soon. I can tell you that. The email just basically said that, my history. I've worked in marketing, et cetera, et cetera. This has been one of the hardest jobs I've ever done, one of the craziest jobs I've ever done. I believe he said the hardest, most creative, and probably most effed up job has been here with you. And he thanked everyone, but he was parting ways with Dutch Pinball. He says, as of November 1st, I have decided to part ways with Dutch Pinball. So we will know more soon. I'm sure that the story will come out somewhere or another. I think that, I'll tell you that I've actually been in slight contact with Dutch Pinball, and they just kind of said, hey, more coming. Maybe we should talk in the next few days. So hopefully that turns into Coast to Coast Pinball touching base on the telephone or Skype or whatever with Dutch Pinball, and we can talk to Barry or Jaap or one of the guys there and kind of get the story as far as they want to give it. I mean, they may not want to give us the whole story, but tell us where they stand. But I think the takeaway here is it was interesting watching the pin side sway today, because Dutch Pinball was definitely the belle of the ball, definitely was the hit coming out of Expo. Everybody was talking about Dutch Pinball and the Big Lebowski, and it wasn't for any one thing. It wasn't just that they had a bombastic Expo seminar. It wasn't just a seminar, and it wasn't just that they had this crazy open booth space with the big kind of. I thought it was sort of a statement, just their booth at Expo. If you weren't there at Expo, most vendors have a table and a booth space of some sort, either, one or two or maybe three. Well, Dutch Pinball actually had like 8 or 10 spaces reserved. And instead of having tables and big stuff, they just had one big stand-up, like, Dutch Pinball, Big Lebowski, banner thing that was like up, or was it a cutout or something? My memory's fading. And then a bunch of checkerboard flooring the whole time. And when the games were in the room, they'd roll the games in and everyone would play there, and they had their Bride of Pinbot with the Bride of Pinbot 2.0 set up there, and that was it. So it was very much a statement, like, this is our space, and when we're here, we're here. When we're not, you're all going to see this big open space for Dutch Pinball. I kind of thought it was cool. It wasn't just that. It wasn't just the VIP parties. They had a couple VIP parties and then like a pre-VIP party thing. I attended the pre-VIP party thing the first night, and then part of the first actual VIP party thing. I don't know how I got in, but I did. Snuck my way in. And it was cool. It was something pinball hasn't seen much recently. at least that I know of. Maybe I just wasn't invited. But it was cool. It was presidential suite, 15th floor, multiple balconies, catered with drinks and snacks and 3 games in the room. It was like, hey, check this out. It was really cool. It was neat. It wasn't just a typical, expo show for Dutch pinball. But it wasn't just the VIP parties. The game, by all accounts, I have yet to read a truly well put together review of The Big Lebowski that had a lot of negatives to say. Okay? I mean, I think if you all heard me talk about The Big Lebowski from launch on, I struggled to find stuff to sort of maybe critique, because I'm not trying to be a shill for anybody or just talk positive about something. Just, that'd be boring. Do you want to listen to me just say how great everything is? Of course you don't. But I think you know that my motto a lot of times is, all pinball is good pinball. Just some's better than others. And we'll call out the stuff that's way worse than others, and we'll call out the stuff that's way better than others. And my biggest thing I could come up with on The Big Lebowski was, there's too many colors. The colors don't tie together. It's too much. And then I saw the thing in person, and it was gorgeous. And I was like, okay, well, never mind. It looks great. It looks fantastic. I played it a bunch. It played really fun. They kept telling me, this is pre-alpha code. Don't judge these rules. Please don't judge these rules. The rules were, I thought, on par with what Stern would ship brand new in a game, and this was, pre-alpha code. So, there wasn't much anybody that I saw anywhere could say negative about this game. So, and it wasn't just that kind of won them the spotlight coming out of Expo. It was all of it combined. It was the big picture. It was this company kind of came from out of nowhere, realistically out of nowhere. All we really knew was the Bride of Pinbot 2.0 project, which we can talk about in just a second. And then all of a sudden they just show up with this game they'd teased us with, they had then shown us artwork on, and then they just rolled into Chicago with not 1, not 2, but 3 flipping games. And I don't mean like 3 effing games. I mean like actual 3 games you could flip on. All the puns tonight, they're all here tonight on Coast2Coast Pinball. So it was this whole just like really kind of, for those that were there, and I know that a few of you listening were there, and you played the game either just right next to me, with me, saw me, you were in one of the nights up in the room, you were on the floor, you saw the seminar, you heard the buzz. It was sort of I don't want to use the word magical because that sounds really like maybe too much, but it was cool. I felt like we were all part of the beginning of something really fantastic, and I think we still are. However, to some of us that were there, Phil was sort of like the point on that. He was the spearhead. He was the arrowhead. He was the first foot through the door for Dutch pinball for a lot of us. Now, part of it, hey, I'm an American. Speaking English is my first language. A lot of us at Expo were. And Phil was the marketing guy. He was the speaker of the group. Speaking English is his first language. And the other guys, I think they speak great English. I think they put on a great presentation themselves. I've really liked all the Dutch pinball guys. And they'll be fine. But I think it shocked a few people that this guy that sort of, ran in the room and announced, "I'm here," is now gone. Is now not with Dutch Pinball. And I know there's people who literally handed him their credit card on the floor at Expo, and he swiped it in through his smartphone to pay for the Big Lebowski. Some of those people are a little shaken right now and just kind of wondering, what happened? Where'd he go? And we don't know. And we'll find out what we find out. I can tell you this. Phil was the marketing guy. He was the face, the voice. He was kind of doing the emails. He was not building the game. So if you're really, here and you're just worried about the game, then I don't think you have anything to worry about. I think they're still going to build a fantastic game. I have such high hopes for the Big Lebowski. And honestly, I have high hopes for Dutch Pinball as an entity and as a company moving forward. My fear kicks in when I see this, and I think, oh no, I hope Phil's not leaving because the rest of the crew doesn't really want to build pinball machines going forward. And that was what Phil was playing. I mean, I don't know. I think Phil has a busy life. He has a wife, a kid, and I know he has a lot going on in his personal life. So who knows? Open forum this show is for anybody from Dutch Pinball. They treated me so great. I would extend them any chance they wanted to either information to flow out through me, to come on and speak directly through the show, anything you want. They're good guys, and I will always be honest about what I think about their products. But I'll also definitely, open my doors for them if they would like to do that. So I wish Phil the best of luck. I wish Dutch Pinball the best of luck. I think if you're in on the Big Lebowski, I think you're in a good spot. I think you're gonna have a fantastic game. So more on that in the upcoming days, weeks ahead.
Forum static.
More forum static. So this is a fun one. This is the one I've been kind of wanting to talk about all day. Last week, somebody posted. Either it was their own forum post or it was inside one of the America's Most Haunted posts. And there's, I think, 3 of them that sort of keep popping up towards the top of Pinside. I refresh Pinside throughout the day when I take a few minutes break from my guitar slinging business that I do. And I know there's one called Thanks Spooky Pinball, AMH is Home, I believe. I'm actually trying to find these on the fly right now. I believe there's one called... see, this Pinside's so popular nowadays, you can't find anything. Everything moves. It moves to the bottom so quickly, so I actually just have to do a little Control F action here. Yeah, it's not even on the first 2 pages, and that's how quick this stuff updates. So, in any case, somebody made a post that, hey, you should go rate this game. Like, if you've played this game, get on there and rate it. And if we get enough ratings, then America's Most Haunted could take its place on the top 100, 200, 300. And guess what? It did. And America's Most Haunted entered the top 100 at spot number 25. Now, there's a few things about that. It's the first of... Okay, so we already knew it was the first of the, quote, boutique. And they get to use boutique more than anybody else because of the word boo. Because they put the boo in boutique. See? I'm like a commercial for these guys. They get to use that term. Small build, independent builders, whatever you want to call it. Because if you scroll up and down the top 100, I'm looking on the top 100 right now, it's Williams, Bally, Williams, Bally, Stern, Williams, Bally, Williams, etc. The entire front page, I think the only other thing you're going to see there is Capcom and Data East. So Data East being the legacy through Stern. Capcom, we know what that was. But that's it. So the fact that a game by... a little tiny company building out of a garage in Wisconsin, Spooky Pinball, popped up in the top 100 is pretty amazing. Today, I think the top 100 updates on Mondays, because today it has moved up even higher with 22 ratings. It has moved up to number 20 on the Pinside top 100. That has to make Charlie, Ben, and all the crew at Spooky Pinball very, very happy. I did go in and rate it, and I actually, when I saw what my little net rating was after I rated it, kind of felt like, oh man, did I rate this thing too low? Because I'm trying to be, fair here. I'm trying to be unbiased. I really don't go in there, and just go across and put 10s on everything on a game that I either just like because I own it or something of the sort. So I've been really, I thought I was sort of conservative, and my rating came out, where's my rating? 7.746, and I think I actually have one of the lowest ratings, well, close to one of the lower ratings. It made me feel kind of bad, but I do totally reserve the right to update it once I get it, because I'm basing it on, extended play at shows, which is not always the best. I rated it very high in things like the layout, the toys, the game rules, the gameplay, the fun. It gets a full-on 6 out of 6 on the Pinside little ranking system for fun, for theming. I mean, the theme integration into this game is excellent. I knocked it. I knocked it for the lighting. I think it's no surprise that people think the game's a little too dark. I think it is too. I will fix that aftermarket. Where else did I not give it? You can give it, up to 6 of the little pinballs, and I gave it 3 on the playfield artwork. So here's, I love this game. I'm buying this game. I don't love the playfield artwork. It wouldn't ever keep me from buying the game because I think the overall package and the toy design and the layout design overshadow it. I'm just not a huge fan. Kind of looks like a first or second draft to me on the playfield artwork. I think that if there's any shortcoming to what Ben did on the game, because I think, realize this, Ben Heck designed all of this. I mean, all of it. He didn't just program it. He didn't just do the dots. He didn't just do the art. He did all of it. I think maybe the playfield artwork was the spot where I would have loved to have seen somebody else take his early vision and maybe just flesh it out a little bit. But still, I gave it 3 out of 6. That's the lowest rating I gave it anywhere. The cabinet artwork, I gave it 4. I think the ghosts on the side are fine. That, to me, is just such a not important part of pinball to me, the sides of a cabinet, because I put it in a row and you can't see it. I like the back glass. I actually ended up really liking the cartoony version of the back glass that they got to, so I gave it fairly high marks there. Sound quality, I gave it a little lower, but that may go up once I get it here. I gave it a 4 out of 6. The music, I gave a 4 out of 6, and I was watching some gameplay video that people posted about America's Most Haunted, and I was actually loving the music. I was actually like, wait, this music's awesome. So I very well may go in and update that, because I feel like I was trying to, not be the biased guy who has money in on this game. So my 7.746 could bump up a little bit. There's some really high scores on there. There's a couple that are low to a point where I think people are just have an issue. And to those people, I would say, come on, man, why you gotta be like that? It's not about trying to boost this game up high just to do it. It's about honest rating. So if somebody came in and gave it a bunch of average scores and that's how they felt, I'll never say a word. But when I start seeing a bunch of 1s across a game or something like that, that's just silly. And I don't know if this ranking system actually pulls out the super low and the super high. It probably should. It's probably a pretty good way to do it so you can't get trolls in there. But the fact that in the top 20 right now, the very first game by Spooky Pinball is sitting there at number 20 is pretty amazing. Even if it drops down over time and settles in, that's awesome. But right now, it's above The Simpsons Pinball Party. It's above Funhouse. It's above The Wizard of Oz. It's right below Tron Pro. And if you said to me, where do you put it when you're not just ranking it and you're actually looking at the list? And granted, I've probably only played 40 games on this thing. And by the way, I can't wait for mine. It's above The Walking Dead right now, and I rate it above The Walking Dead. If it's just a which one's higher type of game with me, I put it above The Walking Dead. And The Walking Dead may very well put out some great code over time and become a great playing game. But I personally, from what I've seen, I prefer America's Most Haunted. Metallica, so it's behind Metallica. Metallica's pretty great. Metallica, I think, is going to be an all-time great game. So I think America's Most Haunted is sitting in pretty great company there. They should be proud of themselves. I think that's fantastic. I'm almost next in line for my game. They even mentioned me on the latest Spooky Pinball podcast that my game is coming out soon. I can't wait. I'm very excited. So anyway, I just thought that was pretty cool. If you're on the fence about America's Most Haunted, it is a 150 capped limited build number. I think you won't regret it if you get in on this game. And I also think it's one of those. So let's tangent here for a second on the whole limited thing, because I know I've been pretty vocal about not buying things just because they're limited. And I won't. I'm not like a guy who's going to rush out and invest in an LE because, it might go up in value. I'm not into that. I don't buy pinball machines as investments. I simply don't. In fact, I'm staring at a bride of pinball I'm probably going to lose a few dollars on when I go to sell it at some point. But I buy games because I love them and they connect with me for some reason. And sometimes I buy them because they're the right price. Okay, so price does dictate things to me. I think that's what I really liked about Spooky, is that I was getting this fully fleshed out game that was innovative, that was cool at a good price. The fact that it's limited influences me to buy the game in a way that maybe isn't obvious to everyone. I don't think that, so I didn't know it was limited when I bought it, but I knew it had a, some sort of ceiling because the operation's smaller. They were going to move on to another game. I knew that it couldn't be super, super built out. It's not going to be like a 3,000 run game. I think we all knew that. So what that does to me is, if I like that game, I want to buy it because I want to play it. And this game is just simply not going to be all over the place and at pinball shows every year for here on out. I can play Medieval Madness all over the place. There's lots of them on location. I know people with them in their game rooms. Now, that one's ridiculous to bring up because they're rebuilding it, but whatever. Monster Bash. I can go play that on location. Cactus Canyon, for crying out loud. I can go play on location. But I don't know that that's going to be the case here. So the fact that America's Most Haunted is limited makes me want to buy it so I can play it. Now, the bonus of all that is, if I do decide that I no longer want it someday down the road, way down the road, there'll be a market for it, for sure. Now, some of the accounts and early, reviews we're getting of owners is this game's difficult. I love hearing that. That makes me happy. I'm not a fantastic pinball player, but, I've seen all of Twilight Zone. There's nothing on Twilight Zone I haven't seen. And that's a hard game. So I want my home games to be difficult. I want them to be deep. I want them to have lots to go to. And this is one of those games that I think really captures the ability to have hey, just shoot the ghost. I think anybody can start with this game and, hey, shoot the ghost. You'll have a lot of fun. Shoot the elevator. You'll have a lot of fun. But man, there's a lot of rules. There's a lot of modes. There's a lot of things to get to in this game. And that's what will keep me very interested. And I'm very excited about that. So there's my little rant on America's Most Haunted for this episode.
Welcome to the D-List.
All right, I've been wanting to do this for a while. This game should, already be on the D-List. And, in fact, part of me thought maybe I'd already put it there, because I really sort of thought I had, but I didn't. And now it goes there. Welcome to the D-List. The Rolling Stones, made by Stern Pinball. I'm sorry, I have to do it. I have to do it. Man, this game drives me insane. Okay, so there is a Bally Rolling Stones from way back in the day, and I said that really confidently that there's a Bally Rolling Stones way back in the game, and I assume it's a Bally because it was a licensed game, and Bally Rolling Stones. Thank you. I don't know. I fact check myself on anything as old as I am or older. So, the Rolling Stones Pinball Machine, 2010 release, and oh boy, so. This is one of those situations where if you said, Nate, you're trapped on a desert island, there's only one pinball machine, and it's the Rolling Stones, I would be like, okay, cool, because it's still pinball. But if you said, Nate, here's 300 of the last games made in the history of the world, you have to throw one off a cliff. This would be one of the first ones I'd be reaching to throw off a cliff, I can't lie to you. All right, so here's my problem. It starts with the Mick stand-up situation. Mick looks ridiculous. Mick's body is a stand-up target that moves across back and forth on the playfield. That's the main toy on this game. This is that era of Stern with cut-out plastic figures, and I know AC/DC kind of did this too on the premiums with the little dancing band in the back right. But the Mick target is just atrocious. If nothing else, if the rest of this game was as good as Twilight Zone, but it still had this dancing back and forth across the playfield Mick target, I'd still put you on the D-List, Rolling Stones. I don't like it. It drives me insane. Okay, so his feet are on a little stand-up target that moves across the playfield on an arc, and then the rest of him is up above it, and they try and make it look like it all is one thing, and it's not. It's silly. I can't stand the Ronnie Wood and the Keith Richards plastic stand-ups and the Charlie Watts. It's just all horrible. It's a tough thing to do a rock and roll pinball machine. It is really tough. If you look at what we've had in the last few years, since 2010 we had Rolling Stones, which I think's horrible. It's coming to the D-List right now. For other reasons just than the Mick stand-ups. I think the theme integration's bad. I don't like the layout. I don't really like the artwork. Is just phoned in. Sorry. And so that's the Rolling Stones, and I think that's a pretty low level way of integrating a rock band. But it's hard. I do admit that it's hard to do. Number two, you have AC/DC. So AC/DC was sort of like stage and lights and fire and hell on the playfield underneath. And that was pretty good. Not perfect, pretty good. The Pro with the big Angus face, not loving that at all. But pretty good. Metallica knocks it out of the park. Metallica took the art route the right way. They didn't use photos of themselves on the game. They didn't use stand-ups of themselves. They didn't need to be in the game as much as the game was sort of about them and their feeling. Rolling Stone is just like, we're going to put the band out here. There's going to be a little stage. There's going to be a ramp that goes back around the stage. You know, we're going to really shove it down your throat that these guys are world travelers. They tour the world. Here's the flags in the shapes of tongues of the countries that they go to. And we're going to put, drumsticks and records as inserts, little guitars on the inside. It's just so, like, stock rock and roll pin. You literally could change out those stand-up guys and get rid of the big plastic, Rolling Stone mouth and tongue and just put any band there. It just doesn't matter. There's nothing Rolling Stones about this, really. I hate the British call-out guy. I can't stand it. If you haven't played it, the British call-out guy's voice drives me insane. I don't love that at all. The backboard lighting is another thing. So they've got this, like, in the back of the game. It's actually not a bad idea artwork-wise, where you look towards the back and there's, like, this row of, like hang lights, but they're just plastic. And then there's just, normal incandescent bulbs behind it. I think that was a spot where you could have really done something cool if you'd really made this look like a big, concert, which they were kind of going for with the amps in the background. It's just not all that well put together in my book. It's not a really fun game to play either. I don't like hitting that stand-up target across the middle. Kind of like I don't like the Big Buck Hunter one either, to be brutally honest here. So if we go and we look at the numbers, we don't know how many were made, but I don't think a ton of these were made, because you don't see them for sale very often. And it's in that weird area where this game was like $5,700 new retail, and it's not that old. It's only 2010, 2011. When did this thing come out exactly? I think 2011 maybe. I think I said 2010. I think it's 2011. So it's this new Stern game, and when you look at what other new Stern games sell for, I think people who own this think this should sell for that too. And it kind of doesn't. It doesn't bring that very often. In fact, I know someone in Los Angeles who had one who emailed me directly and said they really wanted to get $4,900 for it. And I said, well, let me know when you sell it. He ended up selling it for $3,900. And it was literally barely ever played. Someone listens to the show who would not be pleased if I name him, but somebody who got the game via somebody in the music industry. So he just kind of had it sitting there, and he asked me what I thought he could sell it for, and I told him probably 42, 43, and he thought he was going to get 49. He did not. This is where album multi-ball was sort of born, that we eventually got into AC/DC. That happens here. I just wish it stood out more as like Rolling Stone, and the big inserts are all the same. It's just sort of a fan layout that's sort of flat, doesn't do a whole lot. I wish I could like pinpoint some other just. It's not that there's like a lot of badness going on here. There's not a lot of good. The stand-up Mick thing's pretty awful. Don't love that. This game needed to come to the D list. It doesn't rate well at all. I'm actually I haven't looked it up on the Pinside Top 100. We're going to do that live, not live on the show here. Let's say if we go to Pinside, if you're ever looking for a game, you can just, type it in the little archive page and it'll pull it right up. Except when you type it wrong, like your podcast host just did. So this game has an average rating of 6.48, and it is 2011. Estimated price on Pinside, they're claiming $4,800. Came out in February 2011. Currently ranked number 293 on the Pinside Top 100, 200, 300. So yeah, I'm not alone in my thoughts here on this one. And it's funny, if we look at the Bally Rolling Stones from 1979, which is actually a birth year game for me, and I'm always on the lookout for a birth year game. That game is currently ranked 291st, so it's 2 spots ahead of the Stern game. I actually, I wouldn't go out of the way and say that Rolling Stones 1979 is some great game or anything like that, but it has a vibe to it. It has like a 70s thing going on. It has like the middle pop bumpers and some drop targets. I would probably rather own a nice 79 Rolling Stone, Bally Rolling Stone, than the Stern, honestly. And that's not good, because 2011, they should have been able to, do better than that. So that's kind of how I feel about Rolling Stone pinball. 2 flipper game, 2 ramp game, 4-ball, multi-ball. I've tried, and I do try, but it's a game you don't see being brought to shows. I don't see it on location. I know one on location, Rock Fantasy in New York. They've had one there because he collects all the rock games. So anyway, apologies to the big Stern fans who are going to be mad at me for saying something bad about a Stern game. But welcome to the D-List, Rolling Stones.
Check the email.
All right, we have time for a question or two tops here before 119 gets wrapped up. Dear Nate, listen to your podcast seminar panel on the Broken Token Pinball Podcast. I really enjoyed it. I wish you had hosted your own. Oh, you're sweet. Aren't you sweet? It's one of our very few female listeners writing us here. I wish you'd hosted your own seminar, maybe next year. Any ideas for what you could do? Well, that's really nice of you. This is Kelly in Fort Myers. She listens to the show with her boyfriend, and they're very, very nice people. I think they're coming to Atlanta to the Southern Fried Game Room Expo next year is what they told me. Thank you. Yes, so if you are interested, pinballnews.com has listed the audio from Pinball Expo from all the seminars. You can go back and you can hear the Dutch pinball thing. You can hear the podcasting seminar, which I think Kelly listened to on the Broken Token Pinball Podcast, which they put out an episode recently that had our panel in its entirety. And I listened to a little clip of it just to kind of hear what it sounded like. It's funny because I don't remember any of that happening. I know that it was the Spooky Pinball guys, the Broken Token guys, the Game Room Junkie guys, and then me by myself, me and my monkey. And, Bug from Spooky Pinball came in dressed like the Terminator, shooting Nerf darts. There was some shenanigans with cheese in a can. I don't know. And I heard it back, and I'm like, I don't remember any of this because it was early in the morning, and I sound like terrible. I'm trying to make fun of Dave Fix a little bit, who was so gracious as to host us folks up there for that seminar. And so if you're interested in listening to that, either do it on pinballnews.com or listen to the Broken Token Pinball Podcast. I guess it's the arcade podcast, excuse me, not just pinball. So check that out. Would I do my own? I don't know. Would anybody come? See, that's why I wouldn't want to do my own. I'd be really insecure that 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning at Expo, it's the Coast2Coast Pinball Seminar and nobody shows up. That would suck. I would not like that. I will say this. I was asked by another show if I had any ideas for a talk if I were to come, and I actually can't go to that show. And I pitched what I thought was a really good idea, like a live Coast-to-Coast Pinball, live as a seminar with a guest, and sort of do an interview that somebody would be interested in hearing, so it's not just me. Because I don't think you need to just hear me. What am I going to talk about? Here's what I do on my podcast. Yeah, big whoop. I got a microphone and a computer. Next. But I would love to do like a live Coast-to-Coast Pinball show where maybe you interview somebody, do something like that. So if that were the pitch, then yes, I would definitely be up for something like that. Maybe that will be possible at a future show. I'm already looking at my 2015 schedule and what shows I can get to. I'm doing everything I can to go to Texas again. I would plan on being at the Midwest Gaming Classic again. I'm sure Expo will be on the calendar. After that, I don't know. I would love to, I want to go back to Atlanta. I don't know if I'll get back to Seattle. I'm actually bummed I'm missing Houston this weekend. If you're in Texas, go to the Houston show this weekend. By all means, do that. I believe they have over 100 pinball machines at that show, so go support that. I love the shows. I'm actually bummed there's no shows till January when we have the Arcade Expo out here in Banning, California, which that'll be fun. So I don't know. Who knows? Maybe. If people want to hear me talk, they'll hear me talk eventually. I think that's going to be it. I think we're just going to leave it at that. We've got more mailbag to go. Appreciate all the emails. I'll get the t-shirts back up on the site. Heather red t-shirts still for sale. I think some dark gray t-shirts still for sale. And appreciate all the support. Thanks for listening. The downloads for the Expo episodes were through the roof, especially the first one. I mean, like, ridiculous. Really nice. Appreciate that. Thank you. Great meeting everybody. Great chatting. If you'd like to email me, you can always email me at coast2coastpinball@gmail.com. That's coast with the number 2 between the 2 words coast, pinball@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, all that good stuff. Until episode 120, take care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Hey, look, I'm back. Fade out, Rolling Stones. Fade out. Fade out into the D-list. Get out of my show. This is my show. I can come back on if I want to, because it's my show, and I'll do whatever I want. And on that subject, friend of the show, listener since the beginning, one of the top contributors to the pinball podcast community, Joe Zenkus, wrote me a week or so ago and said that he was working on his pinball theater of the mind skit type things for everybody. He wanted to have 3 of them out for different shows. I believe our show, Coast2Coast Pinball. I believe the Pinball Podcast. I believe Spooky Pinball. Possibly one other. Maybe it was more than 3. In any case, my instinct when anybody says, I'd like to do something nice for you and contribute content to your show, my instinct is to say, no. Because I'm a control freak. And I don't want anybody else on my show unless I ask them to be on my show. However, with Joe, I would make an exception under a few conditions. First of all, I asked him how long it was, because I didn't want it to be super long. And he's told me how long it was, and I said, Joe, that's too long. Make it shorter. So he made it somewhat shorter. Still, Joe, it's too long. That's okay. And I didn't tell him this, but it had to be funny. Like, if I didn't, at least smile during it, I wasn't going to put it on. But I think it's funny. He picked the right thing to parody for this guy. I work in sales. My company and my group of sales guys, we joke about the movie Tommy Boy all the time. It's amazing how many of the little jokes from this older, hilarious Chris Farley and what's his face, the little blonde guy. I can't even. I'm too tired to think about it right now. David Spade, who I actually met one time at a restaurant in Phoenix, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, it's amazing how true to life some of these jokes are. Joe Zenkus did a spoof based on Tommy Boy, sales, pinball. It's funny. I'm playing it right here. So here you are, Joe Zenkus, Theater of the Mind.
My dad said that
new pinballs
were the future.
Stern.
But who's going to sell them?
I will. I'll go on my dad's sales trip.
Now, hold on a minute. Do we really want to put the future of the company in
Nate Shivers.
hands?
We're running low on options here, Ted. I can hold off
Jersey Jack.
for a couple of weeks. What do we got to lose?
How about the jobs of 300 people? No offense,
Nate.
but you don't know the first thing about...
Pinballs.
Hey, I know I'm probably not the answer you guys are looking for, but I feel like I gotta do something. You're right. I don't know much about this stuff, but he does.
Oh, no.
That's right. Richard knows more about
Pinballs.
than anyone in here. And since you were my dad's right-hand man, I'd say you had the rest of the year pretty much wide open.
Nate.
This is not a vacation for me. I'm out here against my will, so the least you can do is pretend to work. Now let's review.
Okay, you're right. Review time. Let's do it up.
First, what are the three
Grades of Stern pinball machines. Pro, Premium,
And,
Limited Edition.
And what is our carrying charge for all the merchandise in the warehouse?
oh, man.
1.5%.
0.5%. I knew that. Why can't I remember it?
Try an association, like, let's say the average person uses 10% of their brain. How much do you use? 1.5%. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, now, it's sale time, so remember, we don't take no for an answer.
No.
Okie dokie.
No.
Gotcha, thanks. Terrific. Thanks for your time.
Let me say, maybe.
Well then, I'd just like to add
That all Stern pinball machines come with LED lighting that reduces power consumption and...
Whoa, little fella, you're not speaking my language.
What my associate is trying to say is that,
Our new pinball machines.
they're really cool. Like,
Let's say you're playing pinball with
family, and you're
playing along
la la la, woo. And then all of a sudden there's a
multi-ball
in the middle of
playfields,
and you hit the
flippers.
Whoa, that was close. Now let's see what happens when you're
Playing
with the other guys.
pinball. You're playing along,
And all of a sudden the kids are yelling, I gotta go to the bathroom, Daddy. Not now, damn it.
multi-ball.
I can't stop. Help! There's a
Cliffy protector.
and your family screaming, oh my God, we're burning alive. No, I can't feel my legs. All because you want to save a couple extra pennies. And to me, it doesn't.
Get out. Now.
Do you validate?
Now.
Okay, thank you. You know selling waste to space? I swear to God, you're worthless.
Don't call me worthless. I'm trying my best. I'm not my dad.
That's right, you're not your dad. He could sell a
Gottlieb pinball.
woman in white gloves.
Gottlieb pinball.
Yeah, he was your real dad, and you just took it for granted. Hey, I'm Big Tom's son. He'll fix everything, so I'm allowed to be a moron.
That's it! Get out of the car. It's go time. You and me.
Look, Mommy, the rhino's getting too close to the car.
Him too afraid to get out. He just a little guy.
That's it, big boy. I'm gonna wail on you. You're gonna regret volunteering for this job, Porky.
Hey, boys and girls, it's Papa Smurf.
You don't want none of me. Think it through.
Come on, give me your best shot. I'll give you a free one. Let me have it.
And you, what can I get? Jesus, what happened to your face?
I knew it. See, Richard. I'll have chicken wings.
Kitchen's closed until dinner. Just got cold stuff and desserts.
Boy, some chicken wings would really hit the spot. You sure it's closed?
Let me check. Yep, it's closed.
Okay. Helen, we're both in sales. Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman. Let's say I go into some guy's office. Let's say he's even remotely interested in buying something. Well, then I get all excited. I'm like, Jojo, the idiot circus boy with a pretty new
Pinball. The pinball.
is my possible sale. And then I take my naughty
Pinball.
and I go. Oh! I killed it! I killed my sale! That's when I blow it. That's when people like us have got to forge ahead, Helen. Am I right?
God, you're sick. Tell you what, I'll go turn the fryers back on and throw some wings in for you.
Hey, thanks, Helen.
Did that boar to the head knock something loose?
What are you talking about?
That 180 you just pulled with the waitress. Why can't you sell like that?
I was just having fun.
Hey, you got the wings because you were relaxed, so you had confidence. And that's what it takes to sell. And you know how to do that, just like your dad. He was the best at knowing what people wanted to hear and what people needed to hear. That's what selling is all about. In a way, these people are buying you, not just
Pinball.
Maybe you're right, Richard.
For real this time. Good night. So, yeah. So, yeah.